In the previous lesson, we saw how we can create an interior rendering inside Twinmotion and how we can use different effects to improve the realism, or vice versa if we want to create something non-realistic, something like a technical drawing or a sci-fi blueprint or many other options that we have in Twinmotion. So we can apply filters and effects just like in Photoshop or other software, but here is more these are more like technical drawings that are used in architecture. So we can switch rapidly between some really realistic rendering, some real-time animation for exteriors, for interiors, or also both. And this one was the last one that I created, and we use a lot of realistic effects to improve the quality and some color correction. You can change the contrast, the saturation to adjust it a little bit. You can also export it, of course, and you can do post-production in Photoshop or in GIMP or Pixlr or whatever tool that you use. So we can do a little bit of color correction, post-production here in Twinmotion. And let's jump into the scene now so we can see this is the real-time version of what you just saw render. Now we also saw how we can create animated materials with videos. So how we can apply single texture like pictures from your computer, from your folder, your personal pictures and videos, and how we can apply to a 3D model or a 3D assets that we get from the libraries, and also how we can apply decals, which are going to create some dirt effects, imperfections, and ruined parts of some surfaces. And that's going to help to make things a little bit variated with a little bit of variation. So they're going to be more realistic because reality is not perfect. It has a lot of problems. So this is the 100% resolution of the real-time render. We can improve it a little bit by using also the probes, the reflection probes in terms of reflections. And so we worked a little bit in real time. We worked a little bit with Path Tracer using both render engines in the previous lesson. We're going to do it also right here. And we're going to talk about exterior. So this is, by the way, let's compare. You can see there is a giant difference between using real-time render and Path Tracer, but with the real-time, we have really nice effects, animated effects. We can do a little bit of interaction. We can move around the scene. You can see that this scene is kind of ready also for exteriors. I need to get rid of that dome, which is for the interior. I want to create some background. And here instead, in this one, in this view, I'm using a landscape. The landscape that I'm using is just the one that you find in the library Vegetation landscape called Rocky and Grasslands. And also I added some trees, some bushes here and there just to populate a little bit. And again, this is kind of a technical drawing. I'm using right now the technical drawing filter or the black and white drawing filter. I'm going to show you real quick. So if we go to ambience, go to FX, there's where we can adjust the contrast. We can do it also right here. Well, saturation here doesn't make any difference because we don't have colors. So sometimes some parameters cannot go together. And here is where you add color gradients, like histogram filters, things like that. And here is where you can change types of like this is a comic effects, and then you have sci-fi right here. So you can switch, and if you're looking for something to represent your project, something a little bit more, hand-drawn or technical, you can find it right here. If you don't find what you're looking for, and if the drawings don't appear to be too technical, well, this is because Twinmotion is not about that. It's about creating renderings mostly, and quick rendering, quick animations, quick interaction. So if you want to do that, probably you need Rhino, or you need AutoCAD, or you need Illustrator, you need some vector graphics, you need to create plans, section views, elevations, or you can use also Revit, ArchiCAD, architectural software. Now, one thing I want to do here, just to set up my final scene for the exterior rendering, is to create folders. So I'm going to select like the street lamps. I'm going to create a folder specific for that. So what I'm going to do now is organize my work. It's really important that you organize and manage all of your assets, especially when you have like really populated scenes, when you have interiors, exteriors, you have trees, you have buildings, you have background. Well, things could get really heavy. So sometimes is not changing the resolution of the real-time render is not enough. So you need to figure out what you need and when you need it, because otherwise, if you leave everything on every time, well, that's not going to be good. It's going to be a really heavy scene. And perhaps you also want to do like some variants, some options. So if you create folders for different categories, it's easier to do that. So you can create facing, you can create variations and options. So let's say you want to show building A or building B and to your client or to your professor or whatever. So you can see here I'm creating folders for the interiors because usually when I do exterior renderings, they're pretty far away. So I want to see more like the landscape. I don't want to see the interiors. And interiors could get really heavy if you bring in a lot of assets from the library. And also I'm getting rid of things that I don't need, like extra stuff that I place there. I can arrange differently some place. I can rename to be more organized and so on. Now, what I do here is try again to divide the exterior assets from the interior assets. So the pieces of furniture that I have for the interiors are gonna go in one folder. The exterior props, like this one here for those swimming pool, I will bring them into another folder, and so on. This is just a jump ahead. You can see I've created a little bit of folders here. So I have street lights on one folder, then I have like decals on another folder because those are really details for your project. And then I have like the main architecture on the first folder there on the top. You can also move around the folder up and down. And then you can see here I have the grass, the landscape, rocky grasslands on one layer. And then I have like the context on another layer, the vegetation on another layer, and so on. So it's like working again with Photoshop where you have layers and you can turn them on and off, or AutoCAD when you have layers, you can turn them on and off to your need, to your necessity. You probably don't need everything every time, all of the time. So try to figure out the best way you can optimize your project. And we talk about that also in previous lessons. You need to optimize when you suffer from performance, where you see some lag, when you see everything slowing down. And you need to work with high details and like top quality only in the final part when you're ready to launch the render. Now we also saw the cutouts figurines here, like the silhouettes. Instead of using the 3D people, this is also a good option where you are in exterior and you look at the scene from far away. When you get really close, you want high quality, high poly models. So you can see here I got rid of pretty much anything except the architecture and the landscape and the lake. And now I can switch on the 100% real-time quality again because I was experiencing a little bit of slowdown, but since I hide everything now, it looks okay. And look at this beautiful effect. Now we can use here the HDRI, we can use the sun and sky. Now I'm gonna switch to sun and sky because I want to change the lighting. And also now I've hidden the landscape and the water also. And I want to turn on the context again, which we imported from populate and panel. We imported a piece of the Rome city. I just want to show you here with some height fog and with the sun, how beautiful is this effect, really suggestive. And, you can create a lot of really scenographic effects that are really interesting with light streaks, with God rays and lens effects. You can see here is looking pretty cool. And you can do this, of course, also with the HDRI system. Now you need to decide whether you want now to work with more technical views. You want to create like an architectural model, or you want to do something more realistic. So I'm going to show you both options. So let's get from something realistic to something which looks like an architectural model, which could be also an option when you want to present your project. So you don't want to show like textures and all of that stuff. You want something simple.